Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video, a video where we transform my MAN TGE 4x4 panel van into an adventure vehicle rig, off-road camper van, solo, trying to get all the keywords in. Anyway, it's going to be an amazing vehicle fit for any landscape photographer. In last week's video, we transformed the exterior of the van, making it look so cool with so many usable accessories. And it's still not finished, the exterior. Well, we need to do some more stuff with that. But this week, we are tackling the inside of the van. Now, as has always been the plan, we are not dragging this out. We get a lot done in this video, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the transformation. Taking out that original floor was an absolute nightmare, but now we have a beautiful blank canvas to work from. And I can use this as a template on my new floor to get a perfect fit. Now, I am questioning why I didn't just keep the original floor. I have no idea other than the new floor is lighter. Anyway, the work has been done now, so I'm leveling off the floor with these batons to get a nice even surface for my insulation. You think I've ordered enough insulation? That's the question. This van needs to be insulated from extreme cold temperatures because we've got plans, big plans. So there's only one choice really. And it had to be Dodo mat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we get a low profile insulated floor. The floor needs to be low profile because of the restricted ceiling height of my van. This is 7mm thick Deaden Duo. And this, well, the clue's in the name, Duo. This is a dual product, so it's insulation and soundproofing all in one. It's 7mm thick. And this is all I'm having beneath my subfloor to insulate it. So this stuff is thick, malleable, and self-adhesive. So it seems really quite straightforward. Just roll it down the length of the van and push it and stick it in. So that is the Dodo Mat Duo 7mm down. This is already having an impact. The van is noticeably quieter, so now I just need to seal my wooden floor to protect against moisture, and the subfloor is done. The subfloor is sealed and screwed into those batons I laid earlier, but look at this. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Ladies and gentlemen, my 2026 panoramic landscape photography calendar, full of beautiful images that have been taken from recent months and years from all over the world, all facilitated by my camper van, actually. It's okay, a bit of a shameless plug. However, every year I sell a landscape photography calendar. There's a QR code, so you can scan the code on the image and see the video where that image was taken. It's a huge support to the channel. They are now back in stock, so if you want yourself a lovely calendar for 2026 to inspire you to see some beautiful places from around the world, and to certainly help out with the expense of this van build, then there is a link in the description below. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to an image that I haven't already shown you. There is a link in the description below. Right, I now need to soundproof and insulate the rest of the van, starting with Dodo Mat Deaden Pro. Now actually, looking around the van, it's pretty well sound deadened already. The manufacturers have done a great job. And the thing with this stuff is you don't want to put too much of it in your van because one, this weighs an absolute ton. This tiny box must be 15 kilos. Now, weight saving is a priority and the manufacturer has already sound deadened this van, but there were still a couple of areas that needed attention. So this stuff just dampens vibrations through the metal, lowers that reverberation. So let's see if there's an audible difference. Yeah, hard to tell on video, but when driving you definitely notice it. This is a big box of 12mm thermo Dodo liner. So this stuff does many things. It's acoustic, so it's going to make the van quiet. It's also noise cancelling, so it's going to dampen external noises, and it will also reduce the risk of condensation because this stuff is adhered to the metalwork, so that thermal transfer can't happen where warm air hits the cold metal and condenses. Got a feeling this is going to take a long time. It will be worth it though. We are going for a professional finish through every step of this build. So this Dodo Mat 12mm thermo liner is everywhere it can possibly be. I have squeezed it into every nook and cranny wherever my arm and fingers will reach. A challenge more difficult than it sounds because it's self-adhesive, so pushing it into tight spaces that are way behind these panels, it grabs on everything as it goes in. Nightmare. But it's done. This is going to be a very well tightly insulated van. Now, as I mentioned last week, there is some free stuff in this video, all of which I personally requested. Well, Dodo Mat is one of those companies who got back to one of my emails asking for stuff. Now, not only did they provide all of the insulation in my van, but they gave me so much great advice, and they give me a 10% discount code to offer you guys if you are insulating your van. So that's great. You can save 10% just by using the offer code HEATON10. I don't get any commission, but I already got the free insulation, so I'm winning already. All right, it's bedtime. And when I say bedtime, I mean making the bed for the van, which is the first job in the transformation of the inside of this vehicle. The first piece of furniture. It's the most important, because it's probably what's going to be used the most, but also the bed determines everything. Now, unfortunately, I am too tall to sleep widthways in this van. And I have these lovely windows here, so we can't put in side pods. I didn't want side pods anyway. So the other option, or the only other option, is to sleep lengthways. Now, the only way to do that without the van basically just being a bed on wheels is to make a sliding bed. And that is what we're going to do. The bed will come to about halfway along these wheel arches, and then it will slide out to complete a full-sized double bed. I really did try and avoid the faffery of bed making, like I just want a fixed bed, go to bed, that's it, no work, nothing. But there's always a compromise, and it wasn't possible in this van without the side pods. Really didn't want side pods, so well, that's the easiest thing, is just a quick doosh, done, there's your bed. So my sliding bed will need something to slide on, so I am attaching mounting points to the side of the van that a sliding rail can sit on. Now, what I'm using to support the bed across these two rails are these. These are your IKEA bed struts. They are great because they are completely extendable, so you don't need to worry about cutting metal, measuring the width of your van. You just extend them. They are broadly used across the van building scene, and they are perfect. So I thought it would be wise to add supports to these rails, and I've got tons of this left over from my last van, these offcuts, which I really want to reuse. Oh yes, that is a strong bed. So now that we know the dimensions of the bed, we can move on with other jobs. We will come back to the bed in a little while, but for now, a job I have been dreading: the removal of the headliner. Now, this is a really boring but important job. Condensation builds up above the headliner and runs all over the van, so I'm insulating it. I'm using Dodo Mat thermoliner and the 50mm fleece, which I'm stuffing into every crevice. And whilst the headliner's down, I'm going to run in some cables for future accessories. That is the cab area insulated, wires run in, and the headliner all put back into place. Now, we can get on with something I'm actually really looking forward to, which is the rest of the wiring and the electrical system. I'm gonna need to order a lot of cable. Before I insulated the van, I ran in some conduit which will protect the wires and make running them much easier. The first job was to pull in some of those bigger cables from outside of the van, such as the solar panel. I then needed some lighting so that I can work during those long, dark nights. All right, that is all 6 lights wired in, not properly wired in. They're not fused or anything like that. I'm not even using the proper battery, which I'll be installing in the van, which I'll talk about later on. But all the wires are in, all the lights are in. Do they work? That's the question. Here we go. Come on. 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we officially have lighting in the van. I'm now removing the passenger seat so I can access the van's battery. All right, so I only need access to the battery for one thing. And that is not a battery. That is a fuse box. Actually, that's fine. I need access to the fuse box as well, but I was expecting a battery under here. Ooh, I think maybe it's under the footwell. So I've got myself some 16mm heavy duty battery cable. This is the big boy. This is going to do all the heavy lifting. This cable is big enough to run from the battery, the van battery, to my leisure battery to provide DC to DC charging. Also, it's big enough to go from the leisure battery up to my fuse box and provide all of that power there. Obviously, this is going to be fused, and that is why we need access to the battery to, you know, connect it all up. For safety reasons, I am filming very little of this. That red cable is just running underneath the cab floor, underneath the seat, and then just before it reaches the battery, I have installed a 60 amp fuse. So it's now time to install the battery system, the power that will run the entire van. And basically, I had 3 ways I could go. This is my new battery. So as I've just mentioned, I had 3 options when it came to powering this van. Option number 1, go for the Spaghetti Junction Victron 1 million megawatt, 10 different components, wires everywhere, make a nice little... No, I didn't fancy that. Too expensive, too big, too complicated. It's not for me. The other option was to get a good old power bank like in my last van, chuck a 12-volt socket in, run it to a fuse box, and Bob's your uncle. But I wanted a bit more of a professional finish in this van. So we have this. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Clayton LPS 2 3000. So inside of this small compact package, you have a 2200 watt hour battery, you have an inverter that will output a constant 3000 watts, and it spikes even higher than that. So if you get a household object that spikes on startup, I think it can go up to 6,000. It might not be, it might be 5,000, but it's high. There is a built-in solar charge controller, there is Bluetooth, and there is DC to DC charging capabilities, all built into this, which means you have to do very little in order to set up your van and get full power. Right, let me show you. On the front here is your standard 230 volt house socket. That comes with a built-in breaker. And then on the back, well, that is where all of your cables go. Now this looks a little bit, you know, overwhelming, but trust me, this is about as simple as it gets. This wire goes directly to my van battery with a 60 amp fuse in the wire, and this is the ground. That there is my DC to DC charging. This cable here, DC out, goes to my fuse box where all my accessories go to. This is the ground that goes to a common ground point. This is the negative wire from my solar panel, and this is the positive wire from my solar panel. And I've wired in a kill switch in case I don't want the solar on. This little cable here just goes to my fuse box, and all that does is sends a signal to the battery to let the battery know when the engine is running, and therefore it will send DC charge in. That way it doesn't drain your battery, i.e. charge this when your van is not running. This here is my 230 cable. This goes to a standard household plug socket, which is currently over there somewhere in that mess. Well, you just plug this in. He says, there we go, 230 volt power with a breaker built in.
Beneath the 230 out, there is a 230 in, which is this plug socket here. Well, you plug that in, and that is how you can charge the battery. And when this charges from the engine, or the alternator, so DC to DC, at the same time, it will also charge from solar, so you can get 2 power inputs at the same time. Now, I'm aware that I've dedicated a large portion of this video to this battery unit, but people want to know about power. And honestly, I think this is such a fantastic solution for so many people who go down the self-build route. And we're not done yet. This battery will also jumpstart the van. So if I'm out in the middle of nowhere for a few days and somehow run down my van battery, well, I can use the Clayton to jumpstart it through the DC to DC cables. And finally, it comes with Bluetooth. So you download the Clayton app and you get a very, very simple user-friendly app which allows you to turn on and off the battery. I've just turned on 12 volts, so now we should, bear with me if I can find my flipping lights. There we go. We've got 12 volt power. You can also turn on your 230 volt just with a simple tap. Come on. Yeah, there we go. 230 volt is now on. And you can also monitor things, obviously. See how much power is coming in, how much power is going out, so on and so forth. Everything you would expect from an app, but it's just really simple. No frills, which I really like.
Now that may have seemed like an advert for Clayton. It wasn't. I reached out to Clayton and asked them for a battery and, well, they said no. But then I was chatting to David from Midland Leisure, who also sell Clayton, so I asked him for a free battery. And he said no, he couldn't do it, obviously, because they're very expensive. But he did give me a discount on that battery, which is great, so thank you, David. Now, he also gave me a discount code for his online store, so that's great. So you can get a saving at tons of stuff. There's loads of products at Midland Leisure that will help you with your van build. Obviously the Clayton battery, but they sell everything else like Max fans and various other things. So use that offer code and you'll get yourself a saving. So my electrical system is really simple. That Clayton unit sends power to a fuse box. My accessories such as lighting and USB sockets, whatever, go into that fuse box and Bob's your uncle. However, not every accessory goes into that fuse box. We are having a second fuse box. This belongs to a kit provided by Auxbeam. Now what this kit does is basically it's a switch panel. So the best way to explain this is you've got things like lighting up here, the fridge, USB sockets, all that sort of stuff that you would have in your living quarters. Well, all the operational stuff, the switches and everything like that, they're all in the living area, but there's some stuff you want access to when driving. Now that same stuff that you want access to whilst driving, you might also want access to whilst camping. And that is where the Auxbeam switch panel comes in. Wired into this will be the 2 ditch lights on my bonnet, that's the yellow light. My 2 reversing lights, which, well, they're reversing lights, but they're also great work lights. I'm also wiring in 2 cab lights, which will be a soft LED glow from behind the sun visors. And the final accessory going into this switch will be Starlink. That will leave 1 switch free for any upgrades I wish to make in the future. This is where the hard work really begins to pay off. I'm plugging into a wire which I ran in earlier. This is for my switch panel, which is going to be mounted above the driver's seat. I'm now plugging that switch panel into the fuse box, adding power to the fuse box, and wiring in my first accessory. If I have wired everything in correctly, then through the Clayton app, I'll power up the battery, and then this switch panel up here should fire into life. Oh man. This is always the most exciting and the most nerve-wracking part of any technical installation. Okay, battery's on. Oh, there you go. You see that? Green LEDs. Okay, we're in business. This kit also comes with, oh yeah, a remote control. Wait. Hang on. It's magnetic. So that means that I can operate everything from that switch panel remotely. So if I'm in bed and I hear a bit of a noise outside, I can, boom, fire on the reverse lights. Done. Is that not the coolest thing you've ever seen in your entire life? Or maybe not, but boys and their toys, I tell you, I am very
very happy with this.
Now there's something that I haven't really talked about or mentioned, but I've had quite a few questions about, and I apologise this may be a bit boring, but I'm going to talk about insurance, because I'm not joking, it was a flipping nightmare. I've got a van that I'm doing a self-conversion into something that will remain a van and not be re-registered as a motorhome. I'm also self-employed and will use the van primarily for business use. Needless to say, most insurance companies either A, didn't want to know, or B, wanted to charge me thousands of pounds. And then I was scrolling through Instagram looking at van stuff as you do, and I came across a thing, I don't know if it was an ad or what, but it was Howden's modified van insurance. So a specifically designed modified van insurance package, I don't know. Turns out this is absolutely perfect. They will insure vans as they're being modified into camper vans. So they insure it as a panel van all the way through to a camper van or whatever. Mine's going to be a van with windows. And on top of that, they had no problems with me being a YouTuber and using the van for business use, which is what you should be doing if you make van videos on YouTube. Now, naturally and predictably, I asked them for free insurance and well, they said no. But I thought it was such a good product, because I know a lot of people struggle with this, I would mention it anyway. Now, although they didn't give me a freebie, they did say that if anybody mentions my channel, which is Thomas Heaton on YouTube, that they would give that person a 10% discount. And I do get a very small commission on that, so it's a win-win for you and for me. So that's Howden's modified van insurance. Not really an advert, a genuine piece of advice for anyone in the UK looking at insuring a self-build van, because bit of a minefield. Alright, enough about insurance, possibly the world's most boring subject. Instead, we need to finish insulating the van, the world's most second boring subject. No, not really, because this is going to have such a great effect on the van. I am using Dodo Mat 50mm fleece. It's recycled plastic bottles, environmentally friendly, great for moisture in that it doesn't absorb any, and will keep the van toasty warm. But the trick is to stuff every single possible nook and cranny. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is one heavily insulated van. There is not one void, not one nook nor cranny that has not been stuffed with this 50mm Dodo fleece. So for anybody who watched my last van build, getting on for 4 or 5 years ago now, my Mitsubishi Delica, I built all of the internal furniture out of profiled aluminium. This is the stuff I used in my last van. It's 40mm by 40mm. And it's incredibly strong and fantastic, but possibly overkill. This time, I've gone for 30mm by 30mm. I kid you not, it's almost half the price, and it's about half of the weight. So a significant cost saving and a significant, more importantly, weight saving. Yet I think still gonna be more than strong enough. That is my furniture. This is some software called Tinkercad. It's web-based and it's completely free and it's really easy to use. In fact, it's designed for children. So I took some measurements in the van and then made the framework of my furniture. That is one sofa seat base. It's so light as well. What's this, like? Oh man, 4 kilos would be my guess. So allow me to briefly recoup some of the costs of this van build by thanking the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Now, if you don't know who Squarespace are, they're an all-in-one website building platform. And in a nutshell, what that means is if you know nothing about tech, computers, building websites, coding, programming, and all of that stuff, well, it's fine. You can use Squarespace and get yourself a professional-looking website, your own domain, everything you expect of a modern day website by using their simple drag and drop system. It's intuitive, it's easy, anyone can do it with no experience and no computer skills whatsoever. I know this because I've done it and I'm useless. They even have AI to help you generate the design and copy of your website. So if you fancy giving it a go, go to squarespace.com/Heaton and you get a free trial. If you like that free trial, ambulance in the background, don't worry about it. If you like that free trial, use the offer code HEATON for 10% off your first purchase. Okay, so this is gonna be my sofa, or at least the foundations of my comfortable lounge area. Half of the kitchen, well, 3/4 of the kitchen unit. And the final piece of the puzzle. So now you should have a good idea of the layout of the van. Obviously we have our swivel seats here. This was probably the main one we're going to use. We'll have our comfortable sofa lounge area with some nice cupboard doors on here, lots of storage underneath there, a window there. Still not here. Anyway, on this side we're going to have our main kitchen galley. There'll probably be a sink here, some slide out drawers, the fridge there, some more storage here, probably all of the plumbing in there. And then this section here, well, that's going to be a rear workbench. So the kitchen's going to be like an L shape. And then we have our bed at the back, which is going to be a slidey bed, probably come into about halfway along this kitchen galley. We're going to have an electrical cupboard up here, obviously storage lockers at the top up here. Now, admittedly, this looks far from a completed van, which is very much the case, but please stick with this video. We are not messing about. By the end of this video, this will resemble a camper van. Now, with all of that being said, I need to go ahead and remove this aluminium furniture after just dragging it through the house and wrestling it into the van, all for one quick video clip. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have to lay the floor. Now, I was going to go with a cork floor, but I couldn't afford the headroom. It's just too thick. This stuff is only 3mm, and I used the old floor to template it, which made for a perfect fit. Now, if you're interested in which floor I've gone for, it's just a vinyl floor, but the design I went for, well, I really wanted cork, as I've mentioned, but couldn't really afford the headroom, so I've kind of gone for a corked pattern. So it looks cork-ish. It's kind of like industrial, nice and brown and earthy, which is very much the theme I'm going for in this van. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. I was unsure, I'll be honest with you, and let me know in the comments, because I suspect that this floor is a bit Marmite. I don't know. I quite like it though. Now, where the living area meets the garage area, we're gonna put this down. Rubber coin flooring. Same stuff I had in my last van. It's sturdy, it smells like rubber. So with the floor down, it's now time to start actually making this thing look like a camper van. And we're gonna do that by adding some beautiful wall and ceiling panels and getting rid of all that bare metal. Now this is a job I've been dreading, like measuring and templating intricate shapes accurately is not something that I think I have the skills to do, until I watched a YouTube channel called A Book Life. Now this is a couple who converted a VW Crafter. There's just so many good tips and advice in all of their content. They're fantastic, but one of them was ingenious. An amazingly simple method to accurately template any shape in the van. You've gotta love YouTube. No longer need you fear templating awkward shapes and corners. With this method, it's so straightforward. Get some thin strips of scrap wood and then simply use a hot glue gun to glue them to the metal of the van, creating a template. The hot glue sticks nicely to the wood but not to the metal, making it easy to prise away. And then you have a perfect template of really awkward shapes. Apply that to your piece of wood, attach some carpet, and then you have an almost 100% guarantee of getting the panel fitting perfectly first time. A job which, before seeing A Book Life's video, I just didn't know how I was going to tackle it. Now for the areas inside the garage and areas that are hidden, I'm going to use carpet. But for the panels on show, we're going for something much more fancy. So in here is the covering I've chosen for the walls of the van. It's cozy, it's soft, it's warm, and it's going to hide a multitude of sins. So I've ordered myself some lovely grey fabric. It's like, it looks almost quite tweedy, but not quite. But there's a bit of texture to it and a bit of a variation in the shades of grey. But it's foam backed, so it's really soft to touch. It feels very plush, and it was
very expensive. Now, I was going to order some material and then order foam separately and glue them together, but that actually worked out more expensive. This is a very rough cut piece of wood. I kind of did it on purpose. I was being a bit shoddy, a bit lazy, just whipped over it with a jigsaw, no sanding, no nothing, drilled a couple of holes where it will attach to the walls of the van. But all in all, I'd give this cut about a 5 out of 10. However, my hope is that when I attach this lovely fabric, it's going to go from a 5 to a 10. Come on! Oh yes. It feels so soft. So believe it or not, these lengths of L-track are a huge step in the van. Now that these are in place, we can pretty much panel out most of, apart from where the windows are, I'll not mention the windows, but we can panel out most of the van because the panels will now sit in between this L-track, which will hold it in place. This is very good. We're getting there. It's slowly but surely, and I suspect rapidly going to accelerate from a complete disaster mess into a van. That is the first fully complete thing in this van. I mean, it's only one panel, but yeah, it feels good. Come on! Can't leave the van until the last two lights are in. Like, you think every job's gonna be 10 minutes. Oh yeah, just 10 minutes, pop in two lights, I'll be in a minute. No, no. Oh. Ah. Ah. That's not gonna work. Doesn't make any sense. Let me get some pliers. Ow. Ah. Haha. There we go. Done. Just cheap lights. That's all it was. Cheap lights from Amazon. I think like 20 quid for a pack of 4. Maybe not even that. Maybe 15 quid for a pack of 4. Yeah, they look great. They work great. They're dimmable. But flipping heck, there is no tolerance for fitting. No quality control. Right, I'm gonna have my tea. I'm done for the day. Well, the next day I installed the rest of my panels, including this big headboard, the window blinds, and the window surrounds. Oh, I tell you what, the difference having panels in the van, man, it's incredible. It's really, really starting to feel like a van now. Finally! So on this panel, we have a reading light and a USB port. Luckily, I spent the time running in all of my wires, so they're all in place with these Wago clips. Clip in, and the accessories are good to go. This one is the reading light. Now, it might not look like it, but the van's nearly complete.
Really?
Yeah, you've got to use your imagination a little bit, but think about what we have achieved in this video. The van is fully insulated, we have a floor, we have first fix wiring, plus electricals including a switch panel. We've got ceiling lights, ceiling panels, wall panels, window blinds, the furniture carcasses are in, including the bed frame. The max fan is completely finished. The L-track is installed and there are a million other things that you will never even get to see. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a large window